reached the point in our agenda for our first public participation. Do we have any comments or questions from the public this evening? Correspondence?
No.
Superintendent's report. You couldn't hear us? Okay, I apologize. Did you hear that we had public participation? Did you not hear that? We'll go back. So on public participation, do we have any comments or questions from the public? Could you come forward, please? We can hear you. Yeah, yeah. Now we feel your pain.
There's a microphone actually there.
Right on the chair.
Yeah, you can just grab the mic.
You can see it.
Just so.
Kim Lydell, I'm a mother of a softball player, and I think it's such a positive thing that so many girls are coming out for softball this year. And it's great that the school is allowing 3 teams and trying to get freshmen some games. You know, even if they have to play the same schools a couple of times, just to get the practice of games and in high school is a great thing. I'm just concerned that we're not giving them the potential of reaching their best by not getting them a coach. I think it's it's an injustice to them not to give them the opportunity that, like basketball was able to have a freshman coach and have that kind of training. With so many girls having 2 coaches, how much is each girl going to get from those coaches, because they're spreading themselves amongst a lot of girls? So that's just what I have to say.
Thank you.
I'm pretty much left in the dark here. My name's Kelly Canfield. I have a freshman here. I don't know if there's a freshman team. I barely even knew who the coaches were. So, like she said, we just want our girls to have an opportunity. It's, I think it's fair. The boys get a lot of stuff, and the girls seem to always get left out. So, if we could get a freshman team with some coaches, that would be great.
Could you just, I didn't catch your name.
Kelly Canfield.
Thank you, Kelly.
Hi, it's me again, Lynn Zuppeth, here to speak on behalf of girls softball. I'm thrilled that we're looking into scheduling games for girls freshmen. I understand that many schools have already dropped their programs. I understand that it was difficult for all of the sports overall to field any type of freshman teams. However, what we're asking for is, we don't care if we have to play a larger school, as long as the kids, there are larger schools out there that still have freshman programs. The girls are okay with, and the coaches are okay with scheduling us with larger schools, if that's the issue, just to get the experience, because I think we do a real injustice to the girls if we don't give them the proper coaching now. You're never going to see the potential of some of these freshmen, because they're going to get lost in the crowd. It's a huge number of girls out there for 2 coaches, and we have some assistants, we have some volunteers out there, but we need a dedicated coach for the freshman girl in order to make it a successful season. And Belvidere's always talking about, we're such a small school in order to compete. This is what they need in order to compete. On one hand, you tell us, well, in order to compete, we need to do this and that. In order to compete, they need a coach. In order to strengthen our program, we need a freshman coach, because it doesn't just benefit the freshmen, it benefits the JV and the varsity team, because then they have a dedicated coach who is working with them and not also trying to share their time coaching freshman girls. It shouldn't be an if or we're going to give you this but not give you that. It's an all or nothing here. We did it for basketball. It's creating a prejudice in the mind of the parents, because you can't say we can justify it for basketball, even though all of these factors that we're explaining to you is the reason we can't have freshmen softball for, but we can justify it for basketball. because they existed for basketball just as they exist for softball and every other program Belvidere has. So I think it's imperative that you look into getting us a freshman coach, and it needs to be done immediately. The season started, they scrimmaged, the varsity team scrimmaged today. It's going to be too late, and we're going to miss out on an excellent opportunity to make Belvidere competitive. So I hope you seriously consider our request, and I want to thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pam Liprack. I'm here for softball. My daughter is a freshman, and I know nothing about the program. I had to find out through the parents who the coaches were, because online it has listed a different coach for softball, so you don't know who to get in touch with. And I feel that we are, through the season, my daughter's been practicing with the team for I think 2 or 3 weeks now, and she doesn't even know what's going on. Is there a freshman team? Is everybody making the team? Those are things we have no idea what's going on. So if she doesn't make a team, she's a freshman, she could still play either on a rec team or I could get her on a travel team. But not knowing what's going on, I'm stuck. And that's what I think is unfair to the kids. They need someone to help them and to know what's going on. If it's a freshman team that's just gonna practice, that's fine, we need a coach. Because if you don't keep those girls, come next year, you're not gonna have a team because there won't be enough kids available for your JV. And because you're telling them, we don't care about you, don't go off and do nothing. And I like my daughter to be busy. She was on the cheer team and I loved it. And I also knew everything that was going on because our cheer coach was very involved. And it was a great experience, and I want her to have that in softball because, I'll be honest, I love softball more than I like cheer. So it's a personal thing. I can't wait to go out and see the games, and I know nothing, and I don't think that's fair.
Thank you.
Just one more, this is Lynn Zuppeth again. One more subject I'd like to bring up on girls softball. How do I put this delicately? I understand the board has chosen white as our home uniform. I want you to understand how detrimental white is for girls on certain times of the month, because we have had multiple instances with girls in white uniforms who've had issues because they're forced to wear white pants that aren't practical, that are see-through. To begin with, they have to wear some kind of underthing so you can't see through the pants. White just isn't a practical option for girls in general, I'm just saying. And specifically, not the tight baseball pants where you see everything. We're requesting, we have black pants. The white pants that were ordered last year were not a good quality pants. They are literally coming apart at the seams. And it means ordering new pants to replace the pants we have. But why order white if it really isn't practical when we have some black pants now that could be used by our girls and make everybody much more comfortable and confident. We want confident, strong girls going out there, not walking around like, can you see anything? Can you see anything? That's not, especially with girls. Holy jeez, it's different for boys, they don't. But the girls in these tight baseball pants, it's just not practical. So I'm hoping you'll reconsider on the white pants issue and let us use what we already have. We have black pants. So please let us use the black pants again. I beg you. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions from the public this evening? Yes.
I just feel like the girls would like the freshmen, probably freshmen on the front floor of baseball field.
Come straight.
Colleen Oakley, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I feel like they don't feel like they're wanted. You know what I mean? I feel like they just feel like they're just here. My daughter, and I'm sure a lot of other daughters, come here every day and practice their hearts out because they want to play softball. So I just feel like a coach would be beneficial to them.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the public?
I just want to say I do agree with the white pants issue. My daughter's been playing travel softball for 3 years now, Thank you. Some girls have had accidents. When they're in Newton, Watchung, wherever they're going to be playing Rutgers, I can't get to my daughter if she has an accident, and then she can't play. She'd be embarrassed. I mean, that's not fair to the kids. Will it happen? I hope it doesn't to any of the kids, but black is really not a wise choice. As far as the freshman coach, I kind of am not sure what my opinion is. I was told there are 44 girls. Now, I know that there are 2 coaches. I know that there are 2 people volunteering. I think so far they've done a great job with the space that they have, with the coaches that they have. Is it difficult? Yes. Is it impossible? I don't think it's impossible. However, when games start, what do you do with the freshman girls if the varsity and the JV are playing, if you do separate them out? If they're playing 3 games a week, it makes it very difficult. I do think if you don't do something for them, they will lose interest. But I do have to tell you, knowing a lot of the freshman girls, a lot of them have played travel, and they are very talented. So I think that a lot of them would love to play at the high school level, would love the idea of the competition. So I think maybe some decisions have to be made as far as, do they have a strong JV team, a strong varsity team, and then whoever gets cut from there goes on to a practice freshman team, and hopefully maybe someone can work with those girls. I don't know what else the answer is, because I feel like I don't have all the facts, and I'm not saying that's the coach's fault. I'm not saying that's the athletic director's fault. I just think some information needs, to be given to really make an informed decision. So.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Superintendent's report.
Let's start with softball. That's on my list. Just a couple comments. Mr. Staples did pull all of the schools in the Hunter and Warren Sussex Consortium, so 27 high schools, 6 have a freshman team. Interestingly, 2 close to us do, which is North Warren and Newton both have freshman team. So we can put together a game with at least 12, schedule at least 12 games. I'm sure we really reached out far and beyond the Hunter and Warren Sussex area. We probably could pick up a couple more along the way, or possibly even maybe with North Warren and Newton, because they are close, maybe play them 3 times a piece. But we know we can get at least 12 games in at this point. I can't sit here and say guaranteed, because you never know what could happen with weather and if they decide to back out. We can fund a coach. It's certainly at the board's discretion what they would like to do. It may take us a little bit of time to find a coach, because we haven't advertised. We always have a few people we think we can reach out to. We can do that, but it's certainly up to the board to make that decision. But I don't think you'd get an argument out of myself or Mr. Staples at this point about putting together at least a 12-game schedule. As far as the white uniforms issues go, I think I'll have Mr. Staples just check with NJSIAA just to make sure that's not a state rule. I don't know how it is sometimes because they do at times mandate what we can and can't wear. But that's an easy phone call when he gets back from his conference. Sure. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. We'll put. Yeah. 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 I would say we should have an answer to that by Monday, the latest. So we'll get back to him. So I think that was the 2 big issues right there. So. We can certainly discuss that at the board level, what you'd like to do. But we know we can put a schedule together. And at least for the moment, we intend to play that with who we have as coaching. Again, I don't disagree with anything one of the parents say. It is a little bit of a burden if one of the coaches goes off and there's 30 or 28 other girls left behind to practice. So
Great.
That'd certainly be at the discretion of the board at this point.
Okay.
A couple other things I have. I mentioned at the last meeting that I was going to my county roundtable where Commissioner Rappellett would be presenting, and he did come to the meeting, and I have to say it was quite informative, and I am finishing year 22 of education in the state of New Jersey, and I feel by far he is the most approachable, most knowledgeable, and most down-to-earth commissioner that we have had. It was the first time I'd been with a commissioner where I felt like he was a colleague rather than a complete superior. And the commissioner did an excellent job. He focused on really 3 areas: the fair funding. Everybody probably got the email from Shelley that we did get an increase of $32,000 in state aid, which we expect to about that same amount to increase each year for the next 3 or 4 years. He talked about some recent legislation that was passed, and then of course the always the 800-pound elephant in the room, which is assessments and what the state assessments are like. And he was very, I thought, transparent and honest, saying that they're having a difficult time navigating through the legal battles of what state assessments are and what's going to be required as graduation requirements. So, which is why, and as I said at the last meeting or the meeting prior, we are back to where we basically have been. We're just not calling it park anymore, but that assessment will be used as graduation. I personally asked the commissioner about the funding for our preschool program and how long he foresaw that being fully funded. And his response is, as long as Phil Murphy is the governor, we are guaranteed to have that funding. If Governor Murphy does not get reelected, he says, who knows when the new governor comes in. But he thought that was a pretty honest and open response.
Right.
Spent about an hour with us, so I was really, really impressed, and hope he sticks around for a while.
Good.
Usually the turnover is about every year. I just wanted to, and I mentioned this to Sean in our shared service meeting before, CSA evaluation is due June 30th. We always seem to have a little bit of a problem getting that done. Our county superintendent was emphatic about making sure that gets done because it is CUSAC points. So we talked about a process and somewhat of a timeline, so hopefully we'll get that done in a timely fashion this year. Delayed opening is Monday that's coming up for our teachers in service. Last one was canceled due to inclement weather. Hopefully we can actually have one without inclement weather. So we're always looking forward to that. Happy to say, and I sent an email to everyone, that there is a signed memorandum of agreement with the board and the Teachers Association on the contract, so we're happy that's moving along. This afternoon, myself, Ms. McKinney, and Mr. Thompson from White Township interviewed 4 candidates for the Special Service Director position. Had 4 very good interviews, very good candidates, so we'll be making a decision as to who we're going to move on in the short term. And Mr. Blum, I owe you the attendance reports. We had talked about that all week long, and I don't have them at the moment, so I apologize for that. And that is my report. I had it on my notes to bring them in today, too.
Questions?
Are they in?
I think they're in this package.
I thought they were in the package. Yeah.
They're all 100% attendance. I can. I'll get that for the next one. Actually, I'll send it off separately in an email.
Other questions for Chris?
Sean,
Yes, Brian.
the board is not involved in, so let me rephrase this. Who's responsible for selecting uniform colors?
It's not a board. It's not a board responsibility.
How does that come about?
We usually, well, first of all, we do check with the regulations, because I know at times for certain uniforms there are regulations from NJSIA specifically.
Okay.
So we try to follow along with that. Traditionally, we've always stuck with scarlet or red and white as the traditional Belvidere colors. But I'm pretty sure the NJSIA says you should wear this color as a home team, you should wear this color as an away team. Since white and red are our colors, that's usually how it falls.
Okay, thanks.
Somewhere, and I remember this from cheerleading, we were not allowed to wear black.
Right.
We had to give our uniforms up again. We were not allowed to wear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an uproar.
I recall, Miriam, when I was,
Yeah.
yeah, when I was,
They paid for the new uniform to
yeah.
get the black out.
when I was principal of the high school, there was an issue with the field hockey uniforms because they had black, the numbers were highlighted in black. And I think that one year they wore black skirts too for the field hockey, and that I got quite a bit of feedback from the community.
I think our color was listed as scarlet and white, and that's the issue.
Correct. Yeah.
So moving forward, Chris, you'll talk with Brian, and we'll get clarification.
We'll
and
get
then
clarification on that so we know
We'll
which way to
go from there.
Yeah. I mean, we can wear red all the time, then that would be just fine. I'm sure that'd be fine for the young ladies and for the parents as well.
The one thing I just want to piggyback on something Chris had said. So on the CSA evaluation, Chris is going to go in and check again, and then complete his piece, send it to me, and then I'll send it out to all of you, and anybody who's not conflicted should. And when I send that out, I'll put a requested reply date by. So Chris, you can I'll look for it, or you can just give me a heads up.
I will,
as soon as
yeah.
You do your piece.
I went on last week. It was not ready to accept my information yet.
Okay. Any other questions? Personnel, do we have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
Brian and Glenn. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blum? Yes. Mrs. Bocchino? Yes. Dr. Zuppet?
Yes.
Mr. LeBar?
Yes.
Mr. Lucas?
Yes.
Mr. Matlock?
Yes.
Mr. McInerney?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Pell? Yes. Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Steffen?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
On education, and we have a revision on item 6, so can we get a motion on items 3 through 6 with the revision?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Number 3, with closure of Third Street School. We're talking about closure for classroom activities, but we had talked about the possibility of administration.
Correct, yeah, so the plan would be right now for the central office and the newly developed child study team to occupy the building.
So are we saying a closure just for the classroom usage?
Correct, right.
Or do we even need to approve a closure?
Now, we're just, so we should probably revise and say approve moving K12 up to Oxford Street.
Clarify the motion.
Clarify the motion.
Yes. You okay with that, Brian?
Not an official closure.
So Brian, you made the motion, I think.
How's it being revised?
So to approve the moving of K1 and 2 to Oxford Street. Preschool's already there.
You good?
Yep.
And now, who's the second was that? Was that Glenn again? Glenn. So I did speak with the town engineer. Mary Ann, I think you had raised this point prior to the last board meeting about the proposed development caisson. And then we did have a curriculum. Joe Roth was not available from town council, but we were able to get in touch with Mayor Kennedy. He ended up coming to our curriculum meeting as well. So the way I understand it, it's about 232 units is being proposed. Combination of what's described as patio homes and flats, which basically are apartments. In talking with the town engineer, he had said conservatively that approximately 20% of the patio homes could be 3-bedroom homes. That's slightly different than what Mayor Kennedy had said to us. Mayor Kennedy thought it would be around 8 of the patio homes would be 3-bedroom configuration. So we are talking about the potential for more 3-bedroom homes. Again, there's this may be a very long timeline, and Brian, you could probably speak to this far better than I can, because this project originally came up 13 or 14 years ago, thereabouts. They would have to case on with their Crane, the developer has to go back and go through all the permitting again and the approvals before anything a shovel can strike the earth. And that could potentially be another year. It's tough because we're being asked to make a decision about 3rd Street, and I talked with Chris about this. Chris and I actually have talked a lot about this in the last few weeks, without the benefit of having a complete fact pattern. But I don't know if anybody can provide a complete fact pattern on this particular issue at this particular time. And we could be paralyzed. I mean, we could take no action, and then nothing can happen up there. Meanwhile, there is potential savings by closing 3rd Street and better utilization of our space, plus some of the other dividends that Chris has pointed out, particular safety, having having one campus, with a resource officer that can bounce back and forth between Oxford Street and the high school, as opposed to basically continuing to operate 2 campuses, which is pretty significant concern.
But we can reopen.
Reopen if we need to.
Yeah. So Shelley, do you want to speak to that? Chris, Shelley did get some clarification on
Shelley did
that.
get some clarification.
Catherine, thanks for bringing that point up, by the way.
Mr. Smith had asked to get something actually in writing, which we don't have anything in writing, but Shelley was able to research and find exact code, and because it's classified as a historical building, we're allowed to move out. We're not occupying the building, so we're allowed, if we need to move the kids back, we can. And I said to Sean in our conversation, it at least gives us a year to see really where things go. And I would argue that if we're in the exact same situation again next year, where we're still possibly another year out, then I think it becomes a little bit easier decision if we decide that we want to completely shut it down and go from there. But at least it gives us a year to really look at it, and then it still allows kindergarten through second grade to come up. This end of the hallway be utilized effectively, a place for the central office and likely the child study team to go. That's not costing us any money to rent or anything like that. Everything will be maintained, yep. Yeah, I plan to go out and mow the lawn once a week. I won't shovel it.
Right?
The redevelopment plan says 116 patios.
Oh, I had that mistake. I said 120.
And
120 flat then?
120
I
apartments.
inversed the numbers, so.
It is age targeted though.
No.
Correct, because that's what it said and now it's not.
That's what it was years ago.
Okay, and
Well,
it's
no,
no
it was
longer.
age restricted years ago. Age
Yes.
targeted is correct, but I don't know what that
Age targeted,
means.
I read it, it means designing the homes to not promote families from moving in. So they have the master bedroom on the first floor and then they have the bedrooms upstairs. Basically, the house is designed for working couples that don't have children and so forth. So they took it away from the age restriction, which was the senior citizen home, and they made it age targeted now, where they are trying to promote basically non-families moving in.
Well, the
Until they don't tell them
original-
all they need people to buy
Right.
houses.
The original projection from someone that studied the old proposal was 3 bedrooms with 124 units generate 62 public school age children. But putting that aside, I'm still concerned about the ADA issues, which have not been satisfactorily addressed in my view, and the fact that this development is still an unknown quantity and might generate a lot more kids than we expected. So the other issue is that if we're going to centralize the delivery of student services here and you and Shelley are moving away, I don't really like that idea. I think you should be on site. So for that reason, I'm not going to vote in favor of the closure.
Other questions, discussion on this?
The closure or
I'm going to
On
vote
the motion.
against my own motion.
the closure, but we said it's not the closure.
Well, the motion was revised to,
Oh,
yeah, the motion was revised to reflect that grades K through 2 would be relocated to Oxford.
And I apologize for saying closure.
Okay, sorry, I'm like,
She's wordsmithing you there,
I
Brian.
know, I know.
Questions, discussion? Any discussion on any other educational items?
question regarding the funds, the additional funds.
Save that for the next under business.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I'm in favor of all, and I vote no on 3.
Any other opposed? Any abstentions? Business, can we get a motion and a second on 7 through 11?
Motion.
Discussion.
Just,
Catherine, did you have a question?
I know Catherine's question. I'll try to
Okay.
just. So just so you know, we're just approving the preliminary budget. Doesn't mean what we're saying tonight is absolutely what has to happen. So We have spent some time since we had a little course. Actually, I shouldn't say we had a correspondence because you sent me an email in response. This is not necessarily correspondence. We are talking about that gifted and talented and what that means and how we want to move forward with that. And we would be prepared to make some presentations to the curriculum committee when we do meet again. We have some what we think are some pretty good ideas about that. So I know that's kind of what the question was going to be, but you can certainly jump in. But we're putting together a plan to address that.
I had also researched the most recent scores that have come out. I have a copy, and I gave Chris a copy. So just sorry about that. But if you just want to
Because
pass.
you're so young, you have to learn to blow the strap a little bit. I have my bipolar line still carrying.
But these are the most recent numbers in comparison. It's an Excel spreadsheet, but it's in comparison to Warren County, where we place as Oxford Street Elementary School. Now you see, second from the bottom is where we are. Phillipsburg Middle School. Phillipsburg Middle
Catherine,
School.
can you hold on until it gets passed around so we can
Sure,
follow you?
absolutely.
Thanks.
Anybody else see the copy?
Here's Oxford.
So so just to start over, we're second from the bottom in comparison to Warren County. Now, if you look, the high school itself bumps up fairly up to the middle. So I took the numbers between Harmony, White, Hope, and Belvidere, averaged them out, divided them by 4, and pretty much came up with the Belvidere High School number. So it would appear that when the kids filter in from White, Harmony, Hope, and Belvidere, they essentially pull up the scores or the rating for the high school. So it seems like the issue really, or one of the issues, is directly related to Oxford Street. One of the things that I've been advocating for is what are we doing about being the second to lowest in Warren County, which is why I proposed the gifted and talented, because currently we have several gifted and talented students that were screened for a gifted and talented program, but there's no regular meetings or projects being done with these children. So my concern is academically, if we want to promote academics as our number one priority, we have to do something about these scores. And we have to, my question is, what are we doing to address that? Because I know we're talking about softball teams, and I know we're talking about, other stuff like technology, but I believe our school's academics, we're a school, so academics should be number one. And the other things should come as a grade second or third, but just as a priority, from a priority standpoint.
So, Chris, as you mentioned, we have curriculums. When's curriculum scheduled to meet?
We need to schedule it.
We do. Okay.
Can I make 2 comments?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess sometimes I am definitely not just the glass is half full, but the pitcher is half full kind of guy. I'm just happy that we're not last, because we were last year by a long shot. So congratulations, Mr. Caribbean. We bumped up. I think that's improvement. But secondly, this is going back to when I was high school principal. So it's a few years ago. And Ms. McKinney's back here somewhere. I think she worked on this with me. We did like a little bit of a study, especially with SAT scores. We compared the students from all 4 cluster. And your comment, while understandingly data-wise, didn't prove true, that the Belvidere kids actually did, the Belvidere kids that were K-8 at Belvidere, actually did considerably better when they're juniors and seniors, SAT-wise. It was Google, but she was part of that too. So we did notice that. So it's almost like when they got to the high school, they sort of clicked on. That being said, you and I have gone back, we've talked about, I do recognize there's a need for this gifted and talented. And I talked about at 2 levels. Number one is with the new director of special services, it's going to be a piece of that. It's going to be with the special services, not just special education, special services. So that's going to be one part of it. And 2, like I said, Chris and I, we've had some extensive talks. He had sent a proposal a few weeks ago, and someone refreshed me on it this morning. But we do think it's appropriate and something we would like to show the curriculum as soon as we can.
So,
because we think we could definitely take some of that extra money and put it to that. The other piece that came up tonight in our shared service meeting was really taking a good look possibly at maybe a gifted and talented program or teacher that can be shared amongst the cluster. Because it's not just Belvidere that has that need.
And even for like the more hands-on, it's not just for the gifted and talented. I know is a priority, but I know that she had mentioned earlier a couple of times. Marianne said about the kids that were leaving to go to Warren Tech. Not just the gifted and talented kids and the kids that are behind, but what the real life skills, what are we doing with those types of kids as well?
Absolutely.
That maybe don't fall into either two of the other categories we discussed.
So Chris, when would you anticipate the curriculum would be meeting? Like,
We can just pick a date. I would hopefully in the next 2 weeks or so.
so maybe before we adjourn
Yeah,
tonight,
we can
those
come up
members,
with
and Catherine, you're on curriculum now, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other thing too, Lorette, can you, because I don't think it was in the package, can you send out the updated,
I think it was.
was it in, I missed it then, I apologize, because I was looking.
Is that the very last page?
Yeah, yours shown as a double-sided copy with slight
It's
coding.
only 43
so I
pages
didn't get
this
it
time,
then.
so maybe we'll
So
get
it
through
was in.
Oh, okay, I didn't recall
I'll get you
seeing it.
another copy.
Okay, so, I stand corrected.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So anyhow, just to review everyone, we updated the curricula, the committee assignments and the chairs, so, let's just go ahead and get a curriculum meeting
Yeah.
scheduled then.
We have personnel scheduled for the 27th, so if it makes it easier for some people who cross over, to just meet that day as well.
Yeah,
So I don't know, if we can just, the 27th is a Wednesday. Is
it's a
that
Wednesday.
that class?
So
Wednesday's good, Wednesday the 27th.
2 nights for 2 weeks
We
from tonight.
have personnel scheduled at 6, so maybe we want to do curriculum at 7?
Yeah, does that work? That works? Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, wait a minute, Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
A good skill we should have.
Yeah, if we had that here, I would have to go to Pennsylvania.
What about this coming Monday, the 18th? We have instructional council at 5:30. We can do it at 7 o'clock. You're already here.
And I don't have to work.
Some of us are already here anyway. Does that work for you, Catherine?
Sean, are you good?
Check it, yeah.
18th at 7, you said?
18th at 7.
Put it in the calendar.
Just made the administration really happy that now we can
Yeah, I'm
stay
just
for 2
checking.
meetings in one
Just
shot.
bear with me a second.
I could have been, come back on tonight.
You get it.
Well, I'm here anyway on Monday night.
So we all are, yeah.
Yeah,
Good?
we have a liaison meeting? or no?
Instructional council.
Oh, I.
Instructional
well,
council.
I always get that wrong, okay. Well, I'll be here.
Okay.
All right,
What time is that? 7.
very good. Any other questions on items 7 through 11?
I actually have a question, which unfortunately is the exact opposite. But, so this year we have a relatively favorable budget. So when we're getting extra money back from the extra money from the state, why are we not thinking about giving some of that back to the taxpayers?
Thank you.
I mean, our first thought is always where can we spend it, but there's a lot of people in this town that would love to see a bit of a break in their taxes. I know it's not a lot, but
Last year we almost went 4% because we dug back in a second time.
and I think it's something that we have to start being a little bit more responsible and start thinking about the taxpayers.
Okay.
So I think maybe look at that before we finalize the budget.
We can certainly look at that.
I'd also like to see, since we're on that subject, I wouldn't brought it up just now, but we know how many dollars we're saving, or all the different savings we're taking out, it was like 1.1 mil. I'd like to see exactly where we're putting those dollars.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain on 9 and 10.
Continuing business?
Continuing business, on the charitable foundation, I am of the opinion that it should be started with community involved rather than the administration. It's my understanding that the administration perhaps is leading this. I think it would be more appropriate if the community be involved.
I
How-
second that motion.
How would you go about achieving that outcome?
Advertising.
Put the word out and see if anyone's interested in doing it. I have no objection to that. I mean, this has been a slow walk for a while anyhow. So if we can do something that'll change the status quo to get it moving, let's try it. I mean, I don't know what other people's, I'm just one, as I can often say, I'm just one of 12. So, I don't know on Bob's comment, other people's reactions to that.
I agree. Yeah, I want to see our community get involved about.
Word of mouth, talk to your friends who may be interested.
We can do stuff on social media. We can use all the avenues that we have to get all information out.
Okay. Let's put it out there and see if there's anybody who's willing to take this up. Other continuing business? New business? But I already had mentioned about the CSA evaluation, so we'll be following. Chris is going to do his piece as soon as he's able to do so, and then he'll send it to me, and I'll get it out to folks.
Doesn't that, I mean, the reminder comes out, but the system actually sends to the board members.
Believe
right?
so.
It's not-
Believe so.
So
Is
you
it-
need the reminder going, hey,
Yeah.
check your
Yeah.
Oh,
mailbox.
does it? You all get it automatic?
Yeah, as soon as I complete
But
it, I
it's
think
not
it shoots
super
everybody an
descriptive,
email.
so you have
No.
to actually be looking for it, so
Yeah.
that's where you could probably help.
I'll send something out just to bird dog
It will
it.
help Glenn this year.
It's not my fault, I couldn't get in.
You couldn't get in.
It happened in white
I,
too, so.
I was on the phone
I
literally
talked
with,
to that lady 100 times.
I was on the phone with school boards literally for hours, trying to help, and Michelle. Yeah. So, all right, well, we'll see how, hopefully it'll go a little bit smoother this year.
And you should remind everybody, if you haven't done your ethics form.
Yeah,
that
thank
went
you.
out probably 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that gets done. Needs to be done by the end of April.
So an ethics reminder, okay. And Catherine, you're gonna have new board member training, so we can talk about that. Yeah, yeah. You got it, okay.
Sean, I have something easy. I mean, easy.
Okay.
Can you get a B.O.E. group email so when I share minutes that I don't have to type in everything? I'm always afraid to pull students' email up.
Yeah.
This way it's just a group
Yep.
and it's just all of us. So when I share the minutes out for curriculum, that
Eric and I can work on that.
Alright.
A BOE
Don't worry,
group
you're
email. BOE
Can't
group
hear?
email.
They create a distribution list for just board members, so we can send out minutes to them.
Yeah, you want to see how many percent in that?
No, we want to have a.
Make
wanna
sure we just
have
have one group. Yeah, one
Oh,
group.
you want to have, yeah, you do that.
Speaking of which,
I
I'm
think
actually,
that happened actually, so.
yeah, and actually Eric brought up a point the other day, because Marianne asked for a certain email to be used. Is anybody other than Marianne not using the Belvidere SD email?
I check, let's be clear, I do check. But not as much as I'm on my other email.
Okay. Erica just asked that, because it was,
Yeah. That was the one.
That's like 18 emails, I have like 3 Googles, and then you have a Yahoo, and then you
All
throw
right.
in this one.
all you do is you go in and you pop everything from the one.
So if we do use the mailing group, it would be in district only. It wouldn't be sending out.
Okay, very good.
I can forward stuff to her. Probably.
Any other new business? Michelle?
I think in the past, before the prom, we've done like a presentation, I don't know what you call it, presentation for the kids, whether in the car end, the helicopter, whatever. I don't believe we did that last year. Is there a reason that we stopped doing it?
If I recall, Ms. Ozari was looking it up right now. I think we do that every other year.
Oh, okay, so.
I think it's been every other year, like the presentation. Dennis, you may even know because you've been around for that. Presentation before the prom on the where we have the fly the helicopters and all that. How often? We do that every other year.
Yeah, we haven't
done that. A couple years now, right? So we'll look into doing that this year. It wasn't last year. Was it the year before? It's been a couple years now.
It's been a couple of years.
Yeah. We'll find out about that. Yeah, we'll put that together. Good point. In a couple years.
Public participation. We have a second public participation. Do we have any other comments from the public this evening or questions? We have an executive session. Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion. Second.
It is hereby resolved the board will now go into private session to discuss negotiations, personnel, and a HIB. Any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public as soon as practicable. Minutes of the private session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session at the conclusion of the closed session. Do we have a motion to approve the HIB finding?
Motion, so moved.
Dr. Brun?
It's actually, yeah, there is a finding, but it's unfounded, right?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion?
Second.
Have a good evening, all.